Hello, everyone, just rolling in. We just opened the doors and letting everyone in, so we'll just give it a second for everyone to connect.
Hello, hello.
Great, I see people joining. Hello, everyone. Hi,
Hello, everyone.
everyone. Hello, David. Hi, guys. I'm Darcy Borio with acu-CONNECT, and I'll be kicking things off here today for our webinar hosted by 90 Minds and acu-CONNECT, and our presenter today, Jeremy Patoka with Pre-Sales Leader. We're going to get started. Just a quick little overview for those, since we are kind of having some 90 Minds members and some acu-CONNECT members on today. We just want to introduce you to our respective organizations before we hand it off to Jeremy to tell you all about ways that you can supercharge your product demos. And so just briefly on acu-CONNECT, acu-CONNECT is an independent nonprofit organization dedicated to helping Acumatica users, partners, and ISVs learn, share, and connect. And we do this through our website. I'll show you the URL on the next slide, where you can find our large collection of blog articles, videos, white papers, etc. And then we also host monthly webinars, educational webinars, and we host quarterly virtual happy hour social/networking events that are really popular as well, just to keep everyone getting together and seeing each other and whatnot. And then, of course, we have our annual virtual conference every September. We've had 4 so far, which is the largest independent Acumatica conference there is. So membership to acu-CONNECT is free and open to anyone in the Acumatica community. So you can just go to acu-connect.com and click log in and create an account. And that'll get you access to some of the members only areas of our website, and also add you to our list to receive emails about events coming up, and also our monthly newsletter for all things acu-CONNECT. And speaking of upcoming events, we do have a few. So mark your calendars for this Thursday. I'm sorry, I think I have the wrong date on there. It's the 14th, but if you go to
Hey, Nadia.
acu-connect.com/events and register, you'll get the right date on there. And then we also are going to be having a very popular every year what to know before you go for Acumatica Summit. We're usually joined by people from Acumatica and past attendee veterans to kind of talk about all the highlights that you should make sure to see at the event. And also, we always have a session at Summit right before the opening reception, so please do plan to join us for that. And with that, I am going to hand it off to Ann Sawyer to talk to you just a bit about 90 Minds.
Hi, Darcy. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's time, which I won't take much of it. I do want to thank acu-CONNECT. I am thrilled to have this partnership with them. And I believe that bringing these communities together is only going to benefit everybody in the room. So we're very excited to be working with you guys. And hopefully we'll have some more webinars on our end as well with acu-CONNECT. But a little bit about 90 Minds. We are a member-focused ERP resellers and VARs. It is Sage focused. However, as you know, we have many members that also work on Acumatica and other publishers as well. So I just wanted to share a little bit. This is our board of directors, and this is going to change a little bit next year, but not too much. And we have a really phenomenal board that has grown this year, and they touch all across this industry. So it brings a lot of unique perspectives and knowledge together. I also wanted to share a little bit about our ISV partnerships. acu-CONNECT has very similar partners as well. We work very closely with all of these ISVs. They will all be in attendance at our Meeting of the Minds conference, which I'll share a little bit about moving forward. But these are the ISVs that we're working with, and obviously with Sage 100, Sage Intacct being the primary focus. I am here mostly to share our event that's coming up at the end of February, just after all of the other events that you all have to attend. It's Meeting of the Minds. It's our 13th annual conference. It starts on February 28th, which is our advanced track pre-session day, and goes through Friday, March 1st in the evening, and it'll be in lovely Palm Springs, California. So if anybody is interested in joining Meeting of the Minds and or the conference, definitely reach out to me. You can email me at membership@90minds.com. As you see, it's a really fun conference, which I know Darcy has been to many and could share, and some of you in the room are my members, so I know some of you have been there as well. We do have a special for anybody that's not a member, so definitely email me if you have any interested in attending and checking it out in February. We would love to have you. And once again, thank you so much to Jeremy and to Darcy for allowing us to co-sponsor this event today, and I look forward to working more closely in the future. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Anne. So let's just go ahead and give the screen and the floor to Jeremy.
Great. Well, thank you, Darcy. I'm really excited to talk with the group today about the top 5 ways that everybody on the call can learn to supercharge their demonstrations. That's our topic for today. We'll be jumping in and doing a couple little intro, and then we'll get right into the meat of the content. I've got a lot to cover, and we're going to aim to wrap this up by 3:55 Eastern time, so everybody can make it to their next call. So I'm going to do my best to fit about, probably what we could spend half a day on together in 50 minutes, and keep this as valuable as we can for everybody that's attending today, because we know spending this kind of time on a webinar is a big time investment, and I want to make it worth your while today. First thing, just a quick introduction. My name's Jeremy Patoka. I am the founder and principal solutions architect for a company I started a couple of years ago called Pre-Sales Leader. We've got about 18 employees. I'm based in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I've got 12 years experience in IT. Some of that was as an ISV, some of it was as a VAR, and then certainly the rest of it has been in this new role since I created this company. We do pre-sales as a service, and that's why we're going to be talking today about demonstrations, and we'll actually be talking a lot about discoveries, because that's really the best way to tee up a successful demonstration is proper discovery, good discovery best practices, and then really knocking the ball out of the park on your demonstration. I didn't always work in IT though, and one of the I think reasons that makes the way I approach the pre-sales role a little bit different than others is that the first 5 years out of college, I was actually a Spanish teacher. I taught 8th grade middle school. So for those of you with kids at home, middle school parents that just can't wait till they go to school and bother their teachers instead of you, I was one of those teachers for a while. And I transitioned into technology in my 5th, 6th year of teaching. But I really draw on a lot of those experiences of presenting concepts to students, presenting concepts to other teachers, parents on back to school night, into the way that I approach demonstrating ERP. The majority of my experience is in the acu-CONNECT channel. So that's probably why acu-CONNECT thought I would be a good fit to do today's webinar. I have been in the acu-CONNECT channel for about 10 years now. So pretty early on in the evolution of that ERP ecosystem. And it's been a great ride. It's been an amazing ride, actually. Couldn't have picked a better place to be presenting and really building a career for myself a decade ago. So I hope to be able to transfer as much of what I've learned over the years of demonstrating acu-CONNECT, but now also demonstrating a number of the ISV solutions that exist in the acu-CONNECT ecosystem, which is part of what we do too. Great. So a couple goals for today's workshop. Number one is that we're looking to increase customer success is really what this one comes down to. Increase solution design outcomes. And I'm going to be going in between full screen and not, because I have a little polling tool that we're going to use so we can get some interaction during the webinar today. But really, that's the first goal, is how can we increase the success of an ERP implementation or any technology initiative, really, starting at the point of discovery and then, again, doing a demonstration that's going to help you win the business. Number two is inspiring change. Anybody making a technology decision, anybody sitting on the receiving end of a demo that you would do, they are in some sort of change, right? They're looking to leave their legacy piece of software and move to the cloud. They've grown and now they want to leave QuickBooks and grow into a more mature ERP system. So it's really your goal to be able to inspire change throughout this process, right? Number 3 would be just increasing their engagement and understanding. A great demo is when everybody is speaking the same language, not meaning language, but they're speaking the same set of goals and shared experience, as well as just understanding. Here's where we're at. Here's where we're going. How do we get there? And if you can demonstrate that as a kind of a underlying theme in your demonstration, I can guarantee you're going to see your win rates increase. And that's why I put on here the last goal would be increasing win rates. At the end of the day, if you're spending time doing discovery, doing a demonstration, doing follow-up demonstrations, and putting a proposal in front of somebody, your end goal is to do business with that entity. It's not something you should be shy about. And that's one of the things I hope you take away from today is if you implement some of the tools and some of the suggestions I have today, how can you actually get those increase those win rates? My team as a whole, we see anywhere between 50 to a 70% win rate. That's through the roof. And that's because we focus on pre-sales. We focus on doing this really well. And I hope that what I share with you today even just helps you, nudge in that direction a little bit or win a few extra deals this year. Great. So I'm not going to make you wait. I'm just going to show this now. We'll probably revisit this. What are the top 5 ways that you can supercharge your demonstrations? The 3 on the left are grouped together for a reason. I'll explain that in just a moment. The other ones on the right are a little bit of an outlier. Hopefully that you came up to the webinar today to see how you can supercharge your demonstrations. But I hope you're also not that disappointed that we're actually going to talk about discovery, because the best way for you to be able to supercharge your demonstrations is to do proper discovery. I have battled with people for years on this topic. Everything from a complex ERP evaluation cycle to someone that's looking to bolt on an ISV solution. Right? I don't care if it's a $2,500 application that rides along a Sage or an Acumatica, you still need to do some level of discovery, even if it takes place on the same call. Okay. I know a large portion of the folks today are VARs that will be on the call or VAR representatives. So, you are looking to engage your prospect with some conversation before you show them software. If you're not, I'm going to change your mind on that today. So those are the numbers 1, 2, and 3 are related to discovery. So number 1, conduct the discovery. If you're not doing that at all, start doing it. Number 2, don't just do the discovery as a formality, right? You want to plan your demonstration and engineer each demonstration custom for that engagement, right? We all have standard demo scripts and we have a standard demo flow, but you should at least be having 3 to 5 different individual items that you can plug in and say, well, this WIP report was really important for this one construction customer. That came out of discovery. I'm going to apply that. And then number 3 is actually executing on the demo with that, right? A lot of people do 1 and 2, but they don't inject that into their actual presentation they do with a client. So we're going to cover these throughout the presentation and the webinar today. But I just wanted to start out by saying, here's our goals and here's the stuff that we're going to cover. Numbers 4 and 5, I want you to practice good public speaking skills. Sometimes in our mid-market ERP ecosystem, the demo guy or the demo gal, it's not their full-time job, right? It's somebody that for 4 to 8 hours a week, they happen to be the person to do demos. And that often means that maybe you're not the most comfortable with public speaking, or you need to practice it more. Or you use some verbal crutches that are distracting for people. So we'll talk about that. And then last, we'll talk about just ways that you can vary your communication methods. There's so many tools out there that can help you do discoveries, help you do demonstrations. and just be able to communicate with your prospect or your client in a way that is going to be able to drive home your points in a method or mode that is going to work for them. So we'll dive into that today too. So before we go any further, I really, maybe it's the ex-middle school teacher in me that really likes to have engagement, make sure everybody is engaged and kind of all on the same wavelengths during this. So I use this polling software. It's called Poll Everywhere. So that's actually what I have listed down here. You can go to this link, pollev.com/Jeremy Patoka 903. You can also send a text message. You would just have to send Jeremy Patoka 903 to 22333. And you could also scan this QR code here. So I can make this QR code nice and big. So I'll give everybody just a minute. I'm going to use this throughout the webinar today. There might be 4 or 5 questions I have baked in just to assess everybody's learning and check for understanding. So if you don't mind, go ahead and QR code that, text it, or jump on, since you're on a computer already, go ahead and jump on that URL. It'll just allow you to basically activate, use these questions as we go along our presentation today. All right. So once you are connected, the first question, and again, I'll give everybody just a minute to fully get here, is what best describes the company you currently work for? VAR, ISV, publisher, or other? And I can see we have at least 8 people that have answered this question already. That's super helpful. Thank you, Amy, for dropping that in the Zoom chat as well. If you're still trying to get over to that link, you can jump right in from the link that Amy dropped in the Zoom chat. All right, so I'm going to toggle over here. We'll take a look at these responses. Great. So just a quick look here. We've got about 90% of the folks on the line today are VARs. We've got 11% that are ISVs. Nobody from the publisher, and no outliers. So this is great, guys. This is what I love about acu-CONNECT and 90 Minds for that. We've got a very concentrated group of people that understand ERP, that understand these channels that we work within in the Acumatica ecosystem. All right, next question. I'm curious to just understand before we jump in, how often do you feel that you actually get proper discovery time with a client, with a stockholder, or with a prospect? Always, sometimes, rarely, or never? All right, we've got at least 10 responses, so I'm going to go ahead and toggle over to the responses. I see about 42% of you think that you always get proper discovery. 60, almost 60% now are sometimes. It does look like we've got nobody that's rarely or never, which is great to see, because in ERP sales cycles, I think it would be darn near impossible to do it without any discovery. So, but great to see the breakdown there of who's kind of tracking where, as far as always or sometimes. So we'll flip back over to the presentation. Thanks for taking that. We'll use that a couple more times today, so you can keep that Poll Everywhere tab open. And before we jump into the meat of the content, one thing I just wanted to mention, I love webinars like this. I'm a big fan of professional development. I do it a lot with my own team. Sometimes I think we try to take so many notes and apply it all, and then we just get frustrated and wind up not changing it all. There's this great story about a guy named David Brailsford. Basically, during a 10-year span from 2007 to 2017, British cyclists won this crazy amount of awards, right? They won 178 world championships and 66 Olympic medals. And that's wild, because from 1908 to 2003, the span of almost 100 years, no British rider had ever won the Tour de France or had ever been awarded a gold medal in the Olympic Games, right? So 100-year period, no awards. And then you got this 10-year period in the early 2000s where there were almost like 250 awards. So what changed? Well, this specific coach implemented 1% incremental gains. I'm not a cyclist, but what I've learned is that they focused on not overhauling big concepts and trying to make massive changes. They made a massive effort to make a bunch of very small changes, right? So the clothes they wore, the greases that they put on the bike chains, the tires that they used, the exercises and stretches that they did. They literally went through and they made hundreds of today is aimed to just take away 3 or 4 little 1% gains, right? Through what we learned, just aim to take away a couple of small changes that would help you, win more deals, do better demos. And I'll let you just kind of keep that off to the side on a notepad. But that's really our goal for today. Great. So because 3 out of our 5 top ways to supercharge your demos are discovery related, we're going to spend a little bit of time first talking about the discovery process, right? I have this concept that I've built over time called a differentiated discovery. We'll jump into a little bit more about what that means specifically. But if we think about our success in a discovery or like some sort of hierarchy of discovery skills, your foundation of that is your business process knowledge, your education as a CPA or an accountant or computer science or whatever your background is, and then your product knowledge, your Acumatica specific knowledge, your ISV solution specific knowledge, right? In order to do discovery or do a demo, like that's the requirement. You got to come in with that base. What we're going to cover next are some of what I would just call the discovery best practices to be able to support doing the discovery, aligning it to your demo, and executing on your demo with what you've learned. All right. And I know for a fact, as we continue to build on that foundational knowledge with implementing discovery best practices and eventually reaching the top tier, which I call differentiated discovery, we're getting increased engagement from our clients. We're getting higher win rates. So I think everyone on the call knows what a discovery is. It's always worthwhile to revisit the definition and discuss what is a discovery and what isn't a discovery. All right. So within our world, what discovery in the sales or pre-sales process is a process of gathering requirements to achieve a technical or operational objective, right? You can have discovery even outside of an ERP selection, right? We could just be looking to make a business process change and figure out what we need to change and then implement. So we're gathering requirements, we're documenting them for some goal. And obviously in our scenario, someone's looking to make a change in their ERP system. So we're looking to understand the why. We're looking to understand the pain that they have today. We're looking to understand the goals. And then we're looking to put together a presentation of a very large software package to be able to make sure they see that it meets the need of what they told us in discovery. Okay. This can take place in various shapes and various sizes. If you're somebody that's selling like an Acumatica small business edition construction package, this might take 2 weeks, start to finish, right? You did a discovery on one call for 30 minutes. You come back the next week and you do an hour-and-a-half demo. Your sales process might be very straightforward if that's a market that you focus on in a size business. It could also take a year and a half, right? And require you to fly your whole team on site and walk someone's manufacturing facility, sit down with their accounting folks. So I just want to make sure we understand that those are both discovery, right? The length of time, the depth that you go to based on complexity or size of business is important, but we're still always taking the same time to follow these steps and follow the same processes. I do the same thing when I coach ISVs, right? Even though a lot of times the ISV sees themselves as, a 5% of the ERP spend type of bolt-on or integrated solution, it's really important to still get discovery, right? It doesn't mean you should show up and try to demo a WMS, a reporting and analytics tool, without really understanding what the requirements are. We're not going to dive into this fully today, this StoryBrand framework, but this is actually a marketing framework by a guy named Donald Miller. For any of you that are kind of marketing gurus or just interested in learning more about marketing, he puts out some really great content and wrote a great book called StoryBrand. And he has this framework that he ties back to pretty much every movie script that you see out there, right? There's a common story. Yeah, right now I'm thinking about Hallmark movies, right? You guys could reverse engineer the script and put it in a different town, and you would wind up having a different experience, if it was a Colorado scene or if it was a Vermont scene.
You could get another one that's from the South.
We're getting a little bit of feedback from somebody that might be unmuted right now. So what I would just like to give you like a very high level overview, because this has really influenced the way that I approach discovery, is that there is a character. The character is your prospect. They have a problem. My QuickBooks file is corrupt. My AS400 system is no longer going to be supported. My company has grown and we're really being restrained by our systems, right? Or I just got a new job and I can't believe that they're doing all this stuff on spreadsheets, right? You guys have heard these things before. So that's the character, and they've got a problem, but they're going to meet you. You're their guide, who's ultimately going to learn about them, learn what they need, learn what their problems are, give them a plan. Your plan is going to wind up being your demonstration, wind up showing them, here's how we're going to solve for getting you out of spreadsheets for these business processes. Here's how we're going to wind up eliminating, 3 reporting tools into just vanilla Acumatica reporting tools. And then you're going to call them to action. So that's your closing step. That's where you're asking for their business. We've presented the proposal. We showed you the solution. It meets your requirements. And now it's time to move forward. And that for them is ultimately going to result in success, or it's going to result in failure. Their QuickBooks file actually stops working. Their IBM server does actually have an issue and is no longer supported, right? They lose staff because of turnover because they're having issues with systems. So it's a really fascinating framework that I'd encourage everybody to look at. I just think it's really helped me as I message a sales process and understand what's my role as the person doing the discovery and doing the demo, right? My role isn't to be the hero. Acumatica is not the hero, right? Out of everybody in the channel, I'm probably the first one to drink the Acumatica Kool-Aid out there, but Acumatica is not the hero. The hero is your customer. You are going to guide them to success, and they are going to be the hero of their own story. And when we think of our role in discovery and demos that way, I really think it changes the way that you approach the sales process, right? The basis for successful discovery is built on your ability as a solution engineer, sales rep, somebody that's wearing those hats that moment to help somebody else be the hero of their own story, right? So there's this quote out there that I really like. It says, at the end of the day, people won't remember what you said or what you did. They'll remember how you made them feel, right? So this person made me feel really good about making this transition into a new ERP system. This person really understood my business processes. We have a saying at my company that we win in discovery. And I absolutely think it's true. You win in discovery. You win by relating to those folks. You win by understanding their challenges, empathizing with them. The demonstration is really a proof point, okay? Think about the most recent deals that you've won. I can guarantee you it felt good in the discovery process, right? Before you even showed them any software, you felt like there was good rapport, there was a good trajectory, and you went into the demo feeling great. Think about the deals that you've lost recently. A lot of times we skip discovery. It was an RFP. We didn't get discovery. They gave us only 30 minutes to ask some questions. They made us send over a document, right? It really challenges you to understand, should we be in these opportunities or not? Okay. This is just an example of the typical buyer, right? So if we think about this from like a buyer journey or a buyer perspective, here's a fictitious guy. His name's Matt Littlefield. Matt's the VP of finance for a company called Riptide Distribution. Pretty well-educated fellow. He's got an MBA, Bachelor of Science in Accounting, but he's frustrated, right? We meet a character. Matt's my character here. And the character has a problem. He's doing the majority of the work outside of the current system. He's having trouble keeping staff on his finance team. They also had a cybersecurity incident last year with their current on-prem solution, right? This is Matt. He is in need of a guide. He's in need for somebody to help him. Those were his problems. So now he's going to wind up meeting the guide. The guide is you. But you really need to understand, what are his goals and what are his needs? So we only learn what his frustrations are by asking him. Maybe the lead form, if we got the lead from an outside referral or from Acumatica or wherever the lead was generated, maybe it included a couple of these things in bullets, but you miss out on the opportunity to be able to gain rapport, to be able to start that conversation, learn what you really need to show in the software, right? I can guarantee you, like, Matt's frustration is not that his current system is just in a web browser or has a dashboard tool, right? Or has a report designer. Like that, those aren't his frustrations. That's how we solve his frustrations. His issues are cybersecurity incident, like ransomware, that has dollars and impact on an organization. We could spend a whole nother webinar on just really going down and deeper into the actual frustrations and the challenges and the needs that are going to come out of that, what we're really solving for. The other thing that we want to pick up in discovery is his personality, right? Does he embrace change? Matt does. We learn that in discovery. He seems very forward thinking. It's also really helpful to have discovery with a group of people and understand, well, Matt at Riptide wants to change. Sally's been at Riptide for 35 years and really loves that on-prem solution. So we're going to have to figure out how to make Sally feel good about this transition to Acumatica in the cloud, right? So understanding not just the company goals and frustrations, but now we got to get down to a personal level and really understand what's each personality made up of. And you guys, I'm sure over the years have taken all sorts of personality tests or learned how to apply those in a consulting model or in a sales model. I think all those frameworks are good. You know, pick one that makes the most sense to you that you can understand and use, and just incorporate that into your discovery. Try to understand not just what is this person asking me for, they're trying to get out of Excel, but understand, you know, what's their decision-making process? What's their propensity for change? Right? Those sorts of things. So now that we've decided we've discussed what a discovery is, let's talk about what the discovery process is not. Okay. Basically, these are pet peeves of mine when I hear people think that these are discoveries. Okay. The word discovery is very often misused. So discovery is not a 30-minute call to qualify BANT, budget, authority, need, and timeline. That is not a discovery. That's a sales qualification call. In a perfect scenario, that absolutely has to happen. And then we're going to have the deeper conversation, the deeper on-site visit, whatever your normal process is for chasing a certain deal of whatever size. Okay. It's also not an interrogation. So the publishers are very well known for generating like checklists and Excel spreadsheets, right? And that kind of turns us into robots where we're going to go through, and then it almost feels like we're not talking about the challenges and empathizing with that person. We're actually just interrogating them. When's your year end? What's your base currency? How many companies do you have? Are they separate EINs, right? I'm just pounding that person with questions. I know some of the folks on the Zoom call today, just by scrolling the participant list, you are professionals. You understand your industry. It's good to have those as a guide to make sure you're not missing anything. But at the end of the day, have a business conversation with them. That's what this is about, right? Have a business conversation, understand how they do what they do, what improvements they're trying to make, right? And do that without an interrogation. So I already mentioned the checklists. I'm not a big fan of checklists. I don't mind that people make them or reference them, but to actually sit there and fill out a checklist, I just think really reduces the amount of value that consultatively you can provide for your end client, future client, or prospect. Okay. And the last thing is discovery is not a single point in time. This is not a step in the sales process in your CRM that we go from discovery to demo to proposal. Discovery is continuous. It happens on the first call. It always happens a little bit on the demo. It happens even as we're doing a scoping call and proposal. And then it even happens in the first phase of our implementation when they've signed a contract and sent us a check. So discovery really needs to be seen as a continuous process, something that is going to continue from the beginning all the way through after they're a client of yours. And then guess what? After you get them live, they're going to need to optimize the system. So you're going to do rediscovery, right? And maybe they acquired a company. You're going to need to do discovery to help them fold that company into their new acu-CONNECT instance. So it is ongoing, and that expectation should be set with the end client. Tips for using checklists. Don't use them. No, I'm just kidding. acu-CONNECT gives you great checklists. Publishers, ISVs give you good checklists. Again, have it in the background, have a plan, but please do not sit there on a call and, just go line for line and try to understand, interrogate the end prospect. You're not trading any value by basically asking them questions that they could have just filled out in a spreadsheet and sent to you. And I'm not recommending that, by the way. Don't do either of those things. But we use them to make sure after we finish a finance discovery, we scan a list and we say, oh, I forgot to ask about multi-base currency. Like, that's a gotcha for sure. We should know about that, right? So that's my recommendation, is use it more subtle and have a different plan that you've already built going in. So what happens if we skip discovery? Well, I can guarantee you, because I've studied it for years, in acu-CONNECT, your win rates will be lower. They might even be half, right? If you're skipping discovery, you're going to wind up doing discovery. It's just going to be after your demo has already fumbled and you've dropped the ball, right? Many of you on the call have probably done that. You do a discovery, you come back, you do a demo, and then you wind up demoing certain features. Well, that's not how we do it. Well, tell me how we do it. Your demo becomes a discovery, and now you've lost them, and you're booking another meeting. It makes you look disorganized. Force the discovery or walk from the deal. That is a bold statement. I know it's really hard to do. My only exception that I ever make to that is if I'm going to wind up doing an overview, and I have a slide that literally says, hey guys, you're looking at 10 vendors. So right now we're going to do a flyby of acu-CONNECT. This isn't personalized at all for you. Like, set all sorts of expectations and qualifiers that is the goal. That's the only exception that I ever make, just because I'm so convinced that the way to knock the demo out of the park is to win in discovery and have the demo be a proof step. And it's just not possible if you don't do discovery. What's really interesting is that although everybody on the call is like, yeah, I agree with most of that, Jeremy, that sounds great. The people in my role, the solution engineers, we spend a third, like when we rank our time. So this was a study with hundreds of SEs. They ranked their top functions by time spent. Technical demos, 22% of their time. Discovery, 15% of their time. Intro demos, they almost spend as much time doing demos before discovery than they do discovery themselves. So that tells me we need to push harder to do discovery, even if it's 30-minute intro demo and then an hour discovery after that on the same call, right? So let's switch back over. We've got about 15 minutes more. I've got just a couple questions here for the group. The next question is, how far does someone get through their evaluation of a solution before engaging a salesperson, a rep, whatever the term is that you would use? All right, I'll flip over here. Responses. If you joined late, by the way, you can scan this QR code or use the information at the top to join in the poll everywhere conversation. So it looks like, let's see, how far does someone get through the evaluation of a solution before engaging a rep? A, 10%, B, 30%, C, 60%, or D, 80%. The answer that I am most familiar with is C, 60%. So folks are actually looking online. They're looking at customer success stories. They're actually doing a lot of work before they even show up on your doorstep. They're getting 60 to 70% of the way through the sales process before they even submit a form on Acumatica's website, submit a form on your own website. So it's really important that once we start talking to that person, that we actually understand what their requirements are and what we're looking to do with them. This is also one of the big reasons why we need to have rich content on all of our websites for them to consume, because what has changed is that they're actually getting 60% of the way there before they even talk to somebody. That also makes it harder to stop and say, can we go back to the beginning and learn about you, right? So you've got to figure out a way as an organization how you're going to message the need for discovery. I've seen people be very creative around that. It's just one of those things you got to kind of put your heads together and figure out how you're going to do that. But recognizing that the push for skipping discovery is bigger than ever, because people can get 60% of the way through evaluating a system without talking to a person. You've got to figure out a way to let them continue that journey, but also do what you need to demonstrate a good solution to them. I'll just mention BANT. The reason you see high win rates is because you're not chasing deals you shouldn't. So a part of discovery is absolutely budget, authority, need, and timeline. Again, this would be a topic for like a whole separate webinar. Most of you are probably familiar with that term, but it's just a good reminder to qualify those leads. You invest, if you qualify those leads really well, and then you invest the time for discovery and invest a personalized demonstration on what you learned in discovery, that's where you see the increased win rates and increased engagement from the client. Great. So, just a couple things here on our, as we wrap this up. You know, I have this concept of a differentiated discovery that I've built over time. It really comes out of actually my teaching career. Some of you might be familiar with this term, differentiated instruction. It's basically a way that you get to decide in a classroom environment, since we've all either been to school or have kids in school. If I was teaching a lesson on Latin American food, because I taught Spanish, I would allow the students the ability to write a paper on Latin American food, create a video, actually make the food and bring it into school. They got to figure out how they wanted, what was their end product, right? They also got to choose the content. Well, I actually want to focus on Cuban food versus somebody else that wants to do more Andean region, Ecuadorian food, for example. And I found this really meaningful in a teaching environment. So what we've tried to do is actually pull this into a discovery process and demo, and how we communicate with clients in the sales process. So we called it differentiated discovery. And basically what it is, your discovery process, you know, you're asking questions to learn what the content and the topic is, right? You shouldn't be going in and just saying, we're going to do a UI navigation demo, and then we're going to wind up doing a demo on, reporting tools and then order to cash, right? Your discovery should be uncovering what the topics are that the prospect wants to discuss and then building your presentation around that. The process and environment, right? That's the concept of like one person wants to make food, one person wants to do a written report, one person wants to make a song, right? There's also different methods to it. I can't think of a great way to sing about ERP, but in a professional context, this could be, do we do this demo in person? Do you guys prefer Zoom over Teams? Do you want us to do this demo 1 hour each day of the week and we'll cover each department? Or do you want to dedicate a whole day remote, right? Offer your prospects choice, differentiate your discovery and therefore differentiate your demonstration in the way that's going to work with your end client. Don't make the assumption that they actually want to dedicate an 8-hour day on Teams. They're probably answering emails or doing something else, right? Unless that's their preferred method, take a minute, step back, and ask them what their process should be and ask them what their environment should be, right? I think you'll be really surprised at what their answer is sometimes when you put the ball in their court for how to do this. I've even had some really great success recently by not assuming they want to do it at their office. So for larger deals I'm working on, we go on site for demos. But a lot of times people just can't get their head in the right space when they're in their office. So what we'll do is we'll actually go to a co-working space, or we'll meet at the hotel conference room that they use sometimes, right? Get everybody out of their work environment, really get them in, IT selection evaluation mode, right? And kind of understanding what they need to focus on. What's their propensity to change? Some of you already are really good at this. You just sniffed this out, right? This person's going to be a challenge to work with. But actually putting that into your discovery notes, one, it's going to help your implementation team. And two, it's going to help you understand, all right, we're going to let's do a separate follow-up before the big demo for Sally in order entry. Like, we really got to get her on our side and get her feedback and involve her in this process. And then the last is your communication style. All right. So with that, I'm going to ask everybody a quick question here about communication style. So I've got a question here. What is your preferred communication style? Is it visual? Is it auditory? I mean, you're listening, you just like listen to an audiobook rather than watch a video. Is it reading and writing, or is it kinesthetic? Like, you want to build Legos, you want to touch and feel, and you got to get your hands on the keys and really drive the software for yourself. All right, great responses here. Got a lot of visual. We've got some read and write. Got some kinesthetic. Great. So we have a nice mix here. If I go back over here into the slides, right, there are different styles that people like to communicate in, just like everybody on the webinar today. That's why I've actually varied the instruction. I want some of you to be able to answer questions. Like, that'll be stuff that you remember 2 weeks from now. Others of you, you're sitting there with your coffee and you almost get distracted by the questions, and you really just want to watch and you want to listen. You want to participate that way. So what I would encourage you to do is not necessarily ask this on a discovery or demo, but just assume that you need to vary your communication methods, right? Have different ways of communicating with your prospects. There is one specific, we all hate when people ask to have access to a demo site. I don't even need to poll that. I already know we all hate when we're asked for that. But sometimes if you have someone that is really that kinesthetic learner, it might be best to actually have a Teams call, not give them access to the demo instance per se, but just allow them to drive with some guardrails that you've already put up in your demo environment. And it's amazing how just like watching them enter their own order, process a shipment, and invoice it, not even in a workflow they're going to use when they're live, but just in the system, all of a sudden everything starts to click, right? And it's because we all communicate differently. We learn differently. So plan for that, right? Skilled salespeople, skilled pre-sales people. Don't just assume everyone wants to listen to them all day, or that everyone's just going to watch and be visual about this, right? Skilled salespeople. And this is again where we see the increased win rates. You adapt to the needs of the client that you learn in discovery. So are you a visual learner? Are you reading or writing? Do you want to write out your discovery requirements and send them to me? Then we'll meet to review them, right? Because sometimes if we just meet and I ask you, you might feel like, well, where's that question coming from? Or you might be put off. So really important piece that honestly, even as I'm saying this, I can probably continue to focus on varying my communication style to make sure I'm meeting everyone. These are things that I would just say, if you're going to actually do this in a discovery and a demo, vary the way across all the different types of learning. These are just some examples. Feel free to screenshot this. It's not an exhaustive list, just some examples I put together. Think about how you're setting yourself apart from your competition, right? 5 ways you can supercharge your demo. This is absolutely one. This is one that I can guarantee you, if you're competing with a cloud provider that's selling direct, right, doesn't have a partner-focused approach, a consultative approach, if they're just going to show up and throw up some software, and you've gone to this whole new level to understand the requirements and drive those requirements home in a product demonstration by communicating in varied methods, this has nothing to do with Acumatica. You're just setting yourself apart. They're understanding your message better. They're consuming the software and the solution better. So we're almost right on time here. I've got about 4 minutes left. I want to just save any time if there's questions, either through chat or other at the end. We focused most of the pretty much the entire time up to here on discovery, right? Doing the discovery well, executing and planning for your demo from the discovery, and then actually doing the demonstration, right? So here are just some do's and don'ts that I have learned. Don't overtalk about the solution. Provide value when it makes sense, right? I almost cringe when I hear people say, you don't do this today, but I'm going to show it to you anyway. Why? They don't care, right? I used the metaphor when I was talking with someone earlier today about this topic and said, for my wife, when we go out and we buy a new car, as long as it has Apple CarPlay and 4 tires, it's about all she cares about. So, but I love watching the salesperson, the car dealer, walk through and explain all these bells and whistles. She's literally not listening to them. Doesn't care at all. Does it have 4 tires? Does it go forward and backward? And does it have Apple CarPlay so she can, easily access stuff from her iPhone? If I was a car dealer, I'd just show her those 3 things, take her for a test drive. She'd probably sign right on the dotted line. Quick sale. Number 2, don't turn the discovery call into a solution decision call. I think sometimes it's important to even just say like, hey, this is a brainstorming session, right? This is a solution discovery session. We don't need to make decisions about your future state processes here. So set expectations around what those discovery conversations should be. We get so passionate about what we're doing. Many of you have been doing it for a long time. You can actually cut the client off. So use first names, demonstrate good active listening, take notes, right? That goes a long way to make sure that your prospect feels like they're heard. And then lastly, don't use acronyms that might be unknown. We have so many acronyms in ERP. Yes, I just used one of them. We talk about them like, I'm talking about the weather. But really be cognizant of somebody that's showing up that may not know CRM, ERP, GAP, right? And explain those things. So we could have dove into a lot of these topics, a whole bunch more. One thing that I'll just leave you with here is a final poll. Before I do that, this is a topic I'm really passionate about. Thank you, acu-CONNECT, for inviting me, and 90 Minds for inviting me to just talk about discoveries and demos. And just really glad to be able to share with you guys today. So the last thing that I would do here, I'll end with a poll. And I'm just interested to hear what's one of those 1%, right? When we looked at the cycling team earlier, what were some of those 1% gains? If you're even walking away with one of those today, I'm going to feel like it was a valuable exercise and a valuable webinar for you. This one might take you a minute because you got to actually dial it in or type it in. I just activated it, so you'll see it now. What's one of those 1% gains that you might be able to implement as early as tomorrow in a discovery or demo? So with that, I'll be around on mute if you have any questions, but thank you for attending.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. And Jeremy put up his contact information a minute ago. We do have to close things out, but we'll send you out the recording, and we really appreciate everyone coming, and we appreciate Jeremy as well.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.